Welcome into Locked On 76ers. Keith Payne, Marc Farzetta. More news about Joel Embiid's health status, and then more news on top of that, which might make this not as bad as you originally thought. Talk about that and more on this edition of Locked On 76ers.
You are Locked On 76ers, your daily Philadelphia 76ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And we do thank you for making Locked On 76ers your first listen every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This particular episode brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. Have your cake and drink it too. Birthday cake flavor is back. No fork needed. Vanilla-y, cakey flavor, caffeinated kick, and no sugar. How about that? It's party time. Order now at 5hourenergy.com or on Amazon. Keith Payne, longtime 76ers beat writer. Marc Farzetta, longtime sports talker with you in the city of brotherly love. Keith, we got to get into the Hawks tonight, obviously. We got to get into the second half goals for the Philadelphia 76ers. And then yesterday, Keith, I know my schedule's been all over the place, and I appreciate your flexibility, our listeners and viewers' flexibility. Back to normal after today. Or actually including today, now that we're on at 10 a.m. Live. But I get the news yesterday. I see the news like everybody else did about Joel Embiid, and in case you missed it, here it is. While participating in a right knee injury management program during the All-Star break, Joel Embiid reported soreness in his right shin. Following a consultation with doctors, Embiid has received daily treatment while progressing through on-court work and strength conditioning. He will be out for now tonight's game versus the Atlanta Hawks and reevaluated ahead of the team's back-to-back this weekend. Further updates will be provided later in the week. So that's the beginning. The second part of this is that recently Drew Hanlon went on a podcast and said that Joel Embiid is not going unless he's 100%. In the past, if he was 50%, he'd play. But now if he's not 100%, he ain't playing, and that's all as a goal to be ready for the postseason, which I've been saying all year, you've been saying all year. That's all we really want. That's all we really want for Joel Embiid. Help this team make the playoffs, maybe avoid the play-in tournament, get a little bit of a break, and then unleash fury, hopefully, in the postseason. But, Keith, following the bouncing ball of Joel Embiid's health issues recently, what does this say to you?
You know, it's weird. I mean, because it's kind of like, I mean, the whole the Shin thing, when you talk about it, is one of those things where you want to be, okay, he has a shin problem. Maybe it's something not to worry about. You know, they're saying they're going to give an update before, the road trip. I'm not going to panic a little bit. You say that's what you're thinking.
Yeah.
But then you go back and you say to yourself, here we go again. And it gives you reason to panic because of that. And when they say ahead of the road trip, well, we're talking about a back-to-back, right? We're talking about a back-to-back. So he's not going to play. And even if he's healthy, he's going to miss. He already missed 2 games. So which means is he's going to miss 4 out of 5 games, right? So that's a cause of concern. And then, yes, Drew Hanlon is saying he's not going to play until he's 100%. I don't know. The 76ers right now got the 7th easiest schedule after the All-Star break. And without Joel Embiid and without Paul George up until he comes back, this team may be a play-in team. I mean, towards the end. And the reason why I'm saying a play-in team, because there are 3 teams that we know of, or 4 that are tanking. So they're not going to make it. They're not. The at least 3 of them aren't going to make it. Mm-hmm. So with that being said, there'll be a play-in team, but it's sad, man, because here you go again. You look at Joel, and I keep trying to tell you, it's one of those things where when you look at him, you say to yourself, I want to have 100% faith in him. I want to believe what I see. But then there's always something like this that makes you say, oh, man, I got duped again. And it's nothing against him. It's just that he just has he's injury prone. You know, he's just injury prone.
Yeah, first I see the injury report and I go, oh no. And this is after you and I already talked about the fact that he had missed those 2 games. They were non-back-to-back, and you're thinking, oh, okay, what's up? Then you get the injury report. You hold your breath for a second, and then you see shin injury. What? And then it comes out today, and I think it was Kevin O'Connor's podcast that Drew Hanlon went on, and he said, well, he's really saving himself, basically. You go, okay, that sounds great, but is that also just damage control? Is that trying to make this sound better than what it is? Because, I mean, it does. It sounds better than what you're reading into it initially. But then when you hear, if I'm not anything close to 100%, if I'm not 100%, I'm not playing. And I think most logical thinking Sixers fans go, okay, good. Because really all that really matters is what happens in the postseason. If we got to miss you for another handful of games or another 3 weeks, God forbid, like we did earlier in the season after the great Raptors game we saw him have where he just really went full go in that, full steam ahead, then had to shut it down. All right, and then he had another great run, played phenomenally well in January. Then, all right, fine. Then hit the brakes, take a breather, and then come back when you are 100%. And I know we've alluded to this so many times, we've referenced it so many times, but in the ESPN article over the summer, Joel Embiid talked about how he is taking full control of his recuperation, how he is taking full control of his injury management, and if he's not 100%, he's not going to play. So this would certainly go along with that statement that Joel Embiid made in the offseason. And I got to say, I love seeing the way he played in January, but it doesn't matter if we don't see that level of play in the postseason. So when you add all that together, what you've talked about, what I just laid out as well, I'm looking at all of this as, not the best thing. I'm not excited about this by any means, but it does give me a little bit of relief to have that reiterated that if he's not 100%, he's not going to go because it's all about the postseason.
Yeah. I mean, but at the same time, it was all about the postseason. It's also about where you get seated at too in the postseason. You know what I mean? Like, you know, we thought, like a lot of people thought that when they came back and after he initially injured himself that year and he came back in the playoffs and he played well, you know, he was dealing with issues against the Knicks, but they lost in the first round. Like, you know, there comes to a time where, you know, it's like, to me, are we going to keep continue to pushing the goalposts back, like making it seem like, okay, well, as long as he's healthy, you know, past the All-Star break. Okay, oh no, as long as he's healthy for the playoffs. Well, you need continuity, and you lost some of that right now with Paul George being out. And the fact remains is that the 76ers have lost 6 of their last 7 games without him. And what that does is, yes, you the only addition that you made right now, I mean, don't get me wrong, you made some two-way players. You picked up two-way players, right? A couple of them. But the only addition that you made to the 15-man roster that I might say, because or the rotation, is Cam Payne. Mm-hmm. He's the only one to the rotation. But you lost Paul George, and you don't have Joel Embiid right now. So to me, it says it's great to be excited about the postseason. But at the same time, I'm looking at it like we're already talking about Tyrese Maxey was playing too many minutes. Mm-hmm. All the pressure that was on him, you know, like who's going to step up? Like they need players to step up. But that presence that Joel Embiid provided was extremely impactful. Mm-hmm. And I think that they're going to lose a lot without him.
Yeah, I do too. So, do you think their bottom is a play-in team, or do you think their bottom is even missing that?
No, I think their bottom will probably be a play-in team just because when you look at the standings,
yes,
right? I mean, so I'm just looking at the Eastern Conference standings right now. So, I mean, so the teams who are the bottom 5 in the East are the Washington Wizards at 14-38, the Indiana Pacers 15-40, the Brooklyn Nets who are 15-38. So those three teams are tanking. So they're not even trying to make it, right?
Yes,
And then
correct.
you have the Chicago Bulls who just did a fire sale. So I think they're kind of sort of tanking too. They're 24-31. But then the Milwaukee Bucks are going to try to make the playoffs. So they're 20-30. Right now they have the fourth worst record. I expect them to surpass Chicago. So when you look at the Sixers, right now the Sixers record, they are 30-24. So, you know what I mean? They have like 6.5 games over the Milwaukee Bucks. So I do believe that the 76ers, their bottom will probably be a play-in tournament team. I'm not sure if Milwaukee will catch them. I'm not sure. But with that being said, that's not really saying a lot because the other four teams who are out of the playoff right now are tanking. In my opinion.
Yeah, no, I agree. I would love to see. Look, we've seen them be the number one seed, and they lose in 7 games in the second round to the Hawks. We've seen 3 seed, 4 seed, all that, and they lose. To me, I'm all about doubling down on just being as healthy as possible when you make it into that postseason with Paul George and with Joel Embiid, hopefully, and this version of Tyrese Maxey. When we come back, we're going to talk about second half goals, including one thing about Cam Payne that he talked about in his press conference yesterday, about how he found out he was going to be rejoining the 76ers. Talk about that when we return. This is Locked On 76ers on the Locked On 76ers YouTube channel. Back after this. And right now it's time to tell you about 5-Hour Energy. I hope you guys are enjoying 5-Hour Energy. Truth be told, I've been filming a TV show the last 2 days, all day shoots, long time. You know what helps after lunch? Little 5-Hour Energy. That's where it's at. Helps you get through your day with 5-Hour Energy. Really gives you that boost that you need, especially when you're talking about some of their fantastic flavors, a wide variety of flavors, and they got something for everyone. It gives you that boost with 0 sugar, by the way, and 5-Hour Energy Flavor Draft. That's the way you have to approach it. Tasty flavors that are the absolute best when it comes to maybe having those days that are, a little sleepy, for instance. Here's how you'll do some things with this draft, though. You talk about some great things when it comes to 5-Hour Energy, when it comes to the boost, when it comes to the pick-me-up, and when it comes to a delicious way to power through the rest of your day. Find your new favorite flavor of 5-Hour Energy shots available online at 5hourenergy.com or on Amazon. That's 5-Hour Energy shots available online at 5hourenergy.com. Look at all the fantastic flavors, and you can also check them out on Amazon today and add them to your order on Amazon. You're going to love these. Really helps you, especially now that you're going to be out and about when the weather gets nicer and nicer. You're going to want that energy boost, and you can do that with 5-Hour Energy. Once again, check out 5hourenergy.com or go to amazon.com to order now. And let's not forget about the Everydayer Club as well. This is what you need, the Everydayer Club. Go to LockedOn76ers.supercast.com and get ad-free episodes of Locked On 76ers when you sign up to be a member of the Everydayer Club. I always love stories about when guys find out they're traded, or guys find out that they're signing with a new team and their agent calls them or whatever. I remember Tobias Harris got the news that he was being traded to the 76ers. He was watching the Ted Bundy tapes in his hotel room. And he come into my hotel room, whatever, went down the hall, went into Doc Rivers' hotel room, and he told him that he was being traded to the 76ers. And the first thing he asked was, well, what about Bobby? And he's like, oh, Boban Marjanovic is going with you. It's like, okay, cool. I love little stories like that about how guys find out. Cam Payne was on the bench. Now, please forgive me, audience, and Keith. I'm not really aware of Serbian basketball league rules, but I know in the NBA, you can't have your cell phone. And I don't know if your agent is always sitting directly behind you, but apparently Cameron Payne was told by his agent in the middle of a Serbian game, hey, you might want to pack your bags as soon as this game is over, because it looks like this is going to happen real fast and you're going to go to Philadelphia. So he's sitting there going, I still got to play this game, but all right, yeah, great. This is awesome. Very excited. I love little stories like that. And that Keith is apparently how Cam Payne found out that he was going to be rejoining the 76ers.
Yeah, it was crazy. So when I heard that, I chuckled as well. I mean, I guess it's weird how things happen, but I'm under the belief that what probably happened, and if it's weird that you take your cell phone with you, but I'm under belief that because they had to do a buyout, like the $1.7 million, that this probably could have been something that was in the works, and where the agent was like, look, have your phone on you, it's going to go down, right? Or whatever. And he's probably like having the phone thinking that it's going to happen before the game, but then it actually happens during the game. So yeah, but it's kind of bizarre because but to me, it didn't come out of nowhere. The fact that they made that agreement for him to get the buyout.
Yeah, I just like the idea of him being maybe at the foul line or something like that and like looking at his phone real quick before oh, this is happening. Okay, cool. Something
pulling
like that.
Ben Simmons at practice.
Pulling the Ben. Hey, that was my jersey. Yeah, sure it was, Ben. Anyway, so that's how I found out it was coming to the Sixers. We're very happy about this. I know I'm very happy about the Sixers fans being very happy about it as well. And for me, it does go hand in hand with second half goals for this team. Look, going into the All-Star break, there is a feeling that the organization kind of quit on the team, not getting better at the trade deadline, trading away a guy that I still think has a brighter future. And I don't believe Daryl Morey when he says they traded high. I mean, I don't think it could be argued that they traded higher than they could have maybe a month prior to Jared McCain shooting 48% from three in the month leading up to the trade deadline. So they could certainly have sold lower, but next year, maybe he takes another giant leap forward coming back from that knee injury that you have talked about a lot, where you need that kind of full year to get back from it. But they didn't trade as high as possible. I could definitely say that. But the team, no doubt, got worse after the trade deadline. Cam Payne at least helps bridge that gap a little bit, or helps get you back to where you were when you had a guy like Jared McCain, at least for this year, isolated, not the rest of his career, but this year isolated. So I'm excited to have that guy back off the bench that can knock down that three, maybe run point if you needed to do that as well. So that's a second half goal. Try to get a little bit better. You figured Jabari Walker was going to get the contract converted. You already saw Don Barlow get his contract converted to a standard NBA deal. You needed that guy to come off the bench and knock down threes, and now the Sixers have that in Cam Payne. And that, to me, was a goal. Get a little bit better somehow in the buyout market.
Yeah, I mean, they that was a goal. They got a little bit better. I also think that the Cam Payne situation is one of those things where I think there really wasn't a lot out there in the buyout market as we speak of just now. Now, again, I know you have until March the 1st to be waived and then be signed, with a team in order for you to be on the postseason roster. But when we look at the Sixers, it's like you're looking at it and who's available. Like some of these guys that people said were going to come get waived or come off the books, they haven't been from other teams. So you look at it and you're like, well, you know what? We know what Cam can do. He helps us out as far as being a point guard. He knows our system. We feel comfortable with him. And I feel like that's where that one goes, because there really wasn't a lot. Like, do you gamble on Lonzo Ball, not knowing what you're going to get? Or do you take Cam Payne, a guy that you know that he's going to bring energy? He's going to bring excitement. He's going to play hard, right? He's fun, So, my thing is I felt like that was kind of like the safe pick for the 76ers. Aside from that, they didn't do much. I mean,
right.
Jabari Walker and Don Barlow. I mean, yes, they basically turned their two-way contracts into standard deals, but we knew they were going to do that since the first game of the season. It was just a matter of time when it was going to happen. So Jabari Walker's happened about an hour ago, right? That became official. So yeah, and they did sign some two ways, but aside from that, to me, it seems like that there weren't a lot of options out there for the 76ers. and they really needed to add a guard because they let one go. And you can look at it and maybe argue at this particular time that Cam Payne might be a little bit more versatile than McCain. I think McCain is a better player. He's going to be a better player too, definitely. But I think that, when we talk about being a point guard or something like that, Cam Payne is a better backup point guard right now than Jarrett McCain is, who's kind of like a combo guard.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Any other goals for the rest of this season? The two that jump to mind, obviously, less turnovers and rebounds. You got to be better on the glass, and I know that's a tall order when it comes to Joel Embiid being out. So Andre Drummond getting more minutes, Odem Bona not being a walking foul, staying in the game, being more aggressive on the glass as well. Those are two things that I'm looking at for the 76ers in the unofficial second half of the season for the post-All-Star break. What are you looking at?
My thing is they got to get together. Like, the main thing is, like, we talk about the rebounding. I think the biggest goal is for them is like getting that third quarter stretch together, like figuring out what they're doing wrong.
I've almost given up on that, Keith. I've almost given up. I've almost given up on that.
I think but I think that's a major problem that they have. They have to correct that, right? I mean, I feel like if they don't correct that, they're going to be in a lot of trouble. They have to correct that.
It was funny during the All-Star break when VJ Edgecombe was on his way to be the Rising Stars MVP, and they played the game, his first game, and then he played it right away again in the finals. There was no lull for him. He referenced that in his post-game interview about playing the back. I hate to call it even a back-to-back, but playing right away. He was like, yeah, it was good. We didn't have to settle down or anything. We were right back out there. And I was like, my brain goes immediately to the third quarter coming out of halftime, and this team can't play. So I wonder if he would have been the MVP if he had to have that little bit of a lull in between games, but not the case there. So good for him in that. But yeah, you're right. I'd love to see it fixed, but I feel like they have thrown everything against the wall to try to fix that problem. It's just going to be up to the players hitting shots, and I don't know, maybe they need to bring in a hypnotist just to make them think there was no halftime. I don't know how they do it. They've tried pretty much everything else. When we come back, we'll talk about this Hawks game tonight, 7 o'clock tip-off in Atlanta for the 76ers. We'll also talk about where the Hawks are right now in the standings as well. Break all that down and more when we come back. This is Locked On 76ers. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Back after this. And right now it's time to tell you about Indeed. If you're hiring, oh boy, do you need Indeed. Workplace can be chaos, deadlines stacking up, inbox overflowing, and the one position you have to fill is just sitting there, open still. When pressures are on you to hire the right person, that's where you need Indeed sponsored jobs. Indeed sponsored jobs helps you reach the people who actually fit what you're looking for with skills, experience, location, everything. Indeed sponsored jobs. And here's a stat that says it all. In the brief moment I've been talking to you here, companies like Indeed help hire 27 people, according to Indeed data worldwide. So if your company needs a hire, Indeed sponsored job is the way to go. So if you're hiring, spend less time searching, more time interviewing candidates who check all your boxes with Indeed sponsored jobs. Less time searching for the right applicant. Be more efficient. Get the right person for the job that fits it perfectly. Indeed sponsored jobs, Indeed.com/podcast. Just go to Indeed.com/podcast right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast, Locked On 76ers. Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? Go to Indeed.com for Indeed sponsored jobs. And how about the great people of Quo? Need a new system, for instance, maybe in the new year? That's where you need Quo. Quo, Q-U-O, the smarter way to turn your business communications into a more efficient and better functioning system. Because your team is reachable, organized, and communicating in one place, you just need to work clearer by creating more opportunities to connect with your customers. Nothing slips through the cracks with Quo. It makes everything so much easier. Your whole team can call and text from one shared business number, so nothing gets missed. Nothing just slips away. Everyone sees the full conversation thread, which makes replies faster and more personal. And that works right from your phone or your computer as well. All Quo's smart AI tools as well automatically log calls, summarize conversations, and highlight the next steps so nothing gets missed. How about that? It's no surprise Quo is the #1 rated business phone system on G2, trusted by more than 90,000 businesses from solo operations to growing teams. Make this year the year where no opportunity, no customer slips through the cracks. Try Quo for free, plus get 20% off your first 6 months. Then go to quo.com/lockedonnba. That's QUO.com/lockedonnba. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. Atlanta Hawks tonight come into this game against the 76ers. Their 7 o'clock tip-off tonight as the 10th seed right now in the Eastern Conference at 26-30. How do you see the Sixers stacking up against the Hawks tonight, Keith?
This is going to be an interesting game because if we look at it, the Hawks defeated the 76ers twice this year. And it was one of those games where, you look at it, they've been playing pretty well, like the Hawks. And I look at CJ McCollum. Here's a guy, I'm just going to go over his stats. Right now, CJ McCollum has played 16 games. He's averaging 18.7 points, right? He is shooting 35.3% from three, right? He's averaging 3.1 rebounds and 3.5 assists, right? He's basically been the backup point guard. Now, the crazy part about it is when they played at Minnesota on February the 9th, he had 38 points, right? And that's the game he started, one of the games he started in. And then the last game against Charlotte, they lost that game, but he had 17 points and 8 assists, right? So when I look at this one, if Joel Embiid was playing, if Paul George was playing, I would say I think the 76ers being at home, being well rested, that they would have a chance that they would win the game. But right now I'm looking at it and I'm saying I don't know what to expect because, we know that this team does have some pretty good players. Now, I will say this about the Hawks. The Hawks are on a 3-game losing streak. But at the same time, I do think that the 76ers have shown us a problem of keeping guys out of the paint, guards with straight line drives. And the fact that you don't have Joel Embiid in there, I just think that, there's not a threat at all that somebody's going to be a rim protector. Now, again, I know that Joel defensively, he isn't back. That's the one area he's not completely back to where he is. But at the same time, that presence does make people think again. And so to me, I'm looking at the guards that they have, the wings that they have, and I'm just worrying about from a defensive standpoint, how can the Sixers match up against them?
To be clear, my fault. Hosting the Hawks tonight, then the road trip begins. They go to New Orleans, Minnesota, and then Indiana. Keith Pompey, longtime 76ers beat writer, Marc Farzad, longtime Philly sports talker with you. Appreciate you guys joining us for Locked On 76ers. We'll be back with you guys tomorrow, 10 o'clock, to bring it all down even further. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. And don't forget about the Everydayer Club. Sign up at LockedOn76ers.supercast.com. We'll catch you guys tomorrow. See you then.